Welcome to Satsang. It's so wonderful to be together with you all. And tonight, back inside, it was getting a little chilly out in the garden. I was looking at people huddling up, and getting down into jackets and hats and whatnot. And so I thought, this is what we have this beautiful room for. Let us gather inside and be a little bit warmer. And as always, we begin with one of the questions that comes in advance from our family joining us from all over the world, who send in questions online, which is a good thing to remember, by the way, if you find that after you've left, if you've got questions that you couldn't think of when you were here, or we didn't have time to get to when you're here. We do take one of those every evening at least, sometimes more than one. So feel free to send in any questions that arise later as well. You've got one already. Perfect. I'll come to you right after this one. Is it ever right to do the wrong thing? Is it ever wrong to do the right thing? Well, that implies that right and wrong rest within a thing itself, and they don't. And if I say to you, is it right or is it wrong to take a knife and thrust it into somebody's chest? What would you say? Right action or wrong action?
If he is a doctor and if he is operating,
There you go. There you go. That's the punchline. Exactly. If he's a doctor and he's operating or she's operating, it's obviously the right thing to do. Normally, under non-medical circumstances, taking a knife and shoving it into someone's chest is considered murder or attempted murder or assault or something very wrong. We just celebrated Gita Jayanti, the day that we celebrate the scripture of the Bhagavad-Gita. And there's several places in the Gita, including the whole premise of war itself, violence itself, in which we have this beautiful opportunity to realize, well, yes, on the one hand, we're told violence is wrong, killing is wrong, harming is wrong. And yet, here we have a scripture, not just an acceptable situation, but a model situation, a scriptural situation with God in it. Not just God in the ever-pervasive way that God always is, but actually an embodiment of God in the form of Lord Krishna, in which that which needs to be done is a war. We're told, tell the truth, not just in the actual words, but also in the intention. And yet, there's a beautiful moment in which, through sort of adjusting the truth, that which needed to happen was able to happen. Now, does that mean lying is okay? Of course not. Does it mean harming others is okay? Of course not. But what it does is it makes us realize that right and wrong are context-driven. They're not in a box. Somebody asked a few days ago, last week maybe, whether it was wrong to steal food from someone. If someone didn't have money, someone couldn't buy food, had no way to get food, Was it wrong for them to steal food? And yeah, all of our, whether we say the 10 Commandments, whether we say the Yam and Niyam, say, don't steal, asteya. And yet, to me, the stealing by the homeless, hungry, impoverished person is actually much less theft than what society has done to create a person in that situation to begin with. And if in order to have their human right to eat, they have to grab bread off of a cart, okay, I'm not, advocating anarchy here, but if you had to weigh the scales of which is less dharmic, which is a greater sin, for a poor, hungry person to steal a piece of bread off a cart, or for a society to allow itself to function in such a way that there are people who, if they don't steal bread off a cart, have nothing to eat. So, right and wrong is rooted in context. And of course, if it's the right thing to do, it can't be wrong. So it's not, right to do the wrong thing. Well, if it's the right thing in that moment, then it's right to do. It's always right to do the right thing and wrong to do the wrong thing. It's just that which is right and wrong are context driven. And we see this in society. We see it very much in Indian society. It was not so much in American society, which is very short-lived, only a few hundred years of a culture, but it's much more pronounced in India, where we've got, for example, societal norms that say such and such is wrong to do. Usually it has to do with how young people grow and how they speak and how they act and what they do and what's considered appropriate. And you go back a generation or maybe 2 generations, certainly 3 generations, and you've got social norms that were absolutely wrong. Ask your grandparents if this is wrong or right. They will say, "Ye to mahagalate pape." That is wrong. And yet, as societal norms have changed, our grandparents thought for girls to wear pants was really wrong. Unless it was, salwar kameez. There's all kinds of societal norms that keep changing. And so, when we look at right and wrong, we have to take them in context. So, whatever it may be, from stabbing a knife into someone's chest to a war, to an untruth, to what you wear, to so many different things. It's all about context. It's all about in that situation. Right? We have laws against going through red lights or speeding. But if you've got somebody in your car who's dying, they've had a heart attack, they need to get to the hospital, and there's no one around, it's the middle of the night, the streets are empty, is it still wrong to go through a stop sign? Right? Is it still wrong to speed? So this is the stuff that philosophical debates are made of. But to me, from a very practical and spiritual level rather than an academic philosophical level, I think right and wrong always varies in context. I think it would be more wrong for a police officer to stop that car and waste half an hour of their time writing up a ticket than for the person to run a stop sign to get somebody to the hospital. So, if it's the right thing to do in that moment, it's right. And even if it may have been right in other moments, if it's not right in that moment, it's wrong. I mean, the truth is right, but if that truth is going to hurt someone and not benefit them in any way, then it's wrong. Bhagavan Krishna said so clearly, right? Tapas of speech is that which must be true, but also kind and beneficial. So if you've got a daughter or a son and they're going through puberty, and as their hormones change, they gain some weight or they get a bunch of pimples on their face, and they say to you, God, do I look awful? It is wrong to tell that child, oh yeah, you've got a face full of pimples, or, yeah, you've gained too much weight. It may be true, but it's neither kind nor beneficial. So even though in theory the truth is right, in that moment, kindness and compassion is so much more right than truth that serves no purpose. They've got a mirror, they know they've gained weight, they know they've got a face full of pimples. They're looking for compassion, for support. They're not looking for evidence. So this is where Pujya Swamiji speaks about our internal GPS that really guides us. And we know in each moment, doesn't feel right, not the right thing to do here. Or, oh yeah, this really is the right thing to do. And you'll know. So trust that inner guidance, which is not desire, it's not fear, it's not ego, it's not anger, it's not justification or rationalization, but it's the actual inner divine voice, divine intelligence. Some people feel it more as a sign than hear it as a voice. But either way, you know. And yeah, you had a question. How to hear that inner voice? Practice. If you close your eyes and you go within, you'll hear a lot of voices. A lot of voices. There is that voice of desire, what I want. Oh, I wonder what's going to be for dinner. I wonder if we'll have dessert. Oh, I hope that post I put on social media, by the time I check it, there's thousands of likes. Oh, I hope that project I did for work, I hope they loved it and I'm going to get a raise. So we close our eyes and suddenly all these voices come. Voice of desire. Voice of fear. Oh my God, what's going to happen? What if this happens? What if that happens? Then we have the voice of our identifications. You're stupid. You're worthless. You're lazy. No one will ever like you. These things that we heard at different times in our life, usually our childhoods, that we've internalized as part of ourselves. We hear all of these voices when we close our eyes. And of course, they're all from inside, so they're all that inner voice. But which is the divine voice? Well, none of those. Those are just like tape recordings, right, that have been fed into us by others, by ourselves. And we just replay them. But that voice of the divine is one that if we become still enough and quiet enough And as those other voices arise, we can see them, name them, and then become free of them. Ah, fear. Ah, desire. Ah, my 5th grade teacher who was really cranky and really didn't like me for some reason. Ah, my older cousin who always used to bully me. Ah, my younger cousin who was always jealous. Right? We just slowly remove those voices. We acknowledge them. See them. We're all familiar with them. It may take a moment for you to remember whose voice it is because we internalize them so much that we forget. Oh, I'm not actually worthless. It's just my teacher told me I was when I was acting out on what was already a bad day for her. It's not really that I'll become nothing. It's just that that's what my older brother said when he was trying to, harass me. You acknowledge it, you see it, you understand where do these voices come from. And then we bow to them and we let them go. And what's left after you've seen and acknowledged and bowed on their way out to these other voices is a very still, much more subtle, doesn't seem to come from the programs of the mind, but it seems to well up from within the being. And it also doesn't always speak as a voice, as I said. These other voices are voices. You are stupid. You are worthless. You are lazy. Why did you say that? Everyone will laugh at you. What must people be thinking? Those are voices. They're loud. We hear them. They articulate well. They repeat. But that divine voice sometimes is not even actually a voice. It's just a knowing. It's just an awareness. And then we can hear it. But this is why we meditate. This is one of the reasons. Is to actually become familiar with that voice. Because otherwise, you close your eyes, there's so many inner voices. But the more you meditate, and the more you see and acknowledge and then bow as you send them on their way, these other voices, what you'll find left is that inner divine voice. And then you start listening to it, and the more you listen to it, the louder it gets. I always think in the beginning it's not quite sure we'll listen, so it's soft, or maybe it's soft for those who are subtle and disciplined enough to hear it when it's soft. But it gets louder. It gets louder. And then you start to find that you can find it kind of right away when you need it, that it's right there. But first you have to develop a relationship with it. I'm sorry? Chalu hai.
As I practice, only the gratitude emerges.
Beautiful.
I don't have any thoughts, I don't have any
Beautiful.
desires. Only the gratitude emerges, and with this question I had come here to Rishikesh. I think Divine had the plan to answer my question through you, madam. Thanks a lot.
Gratitude is, if you could say there was an emotion of the gods, it would be gratitude. In terms of that which we feel that connects us to the divine, is gratitude. It's that experience, that feeling, that awareness, that emotion that not only connects us to God, but that also transforms our life. A lot of people think, first I'll get what I want, then I'll be grateful for it, and then I'll be happy. It seems logical. I want something. When I get it, I'll be grateful for it, then I'll be happy. But it doesn't actually work like that. Gratitude brings happiness. It's not that first I get what I want, and from getting what I want, I become very happy. And then gratitude comes along with that. It's the practice of gratitude actually brings happiness. So rather than waiting till you get what you want, the question becomes, how can we bring gratitude into our daily practice? There's always something to be grateful for. And in that gratitude, then joy blossoms. And that divine connection just gets stronger and stronger. Beautiful. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes. Finally. She comes every night, and every night I look at her. Every night she doesn't have a question. But yes, you want to come here? Okay. What is your question?
My question is that whenever I go to do japa, I feel like I don't want to do the japa right now. Let me do something else right now. And when my mind says to do something else and not do japa. So how can I control my mind to do japa?
Wow. That was very beautiful.
Thank you.
I love that you do japa. That makes me so happy.
Well, when I get forced to do that time, and whereas sometimes I do.
Okay. So, thank you for that beautiful question. So when she sits down to do japa, sometimes her mind says, maybe I'd rather do something else. I understand that. I think that happens to everybody. That's why our meditation practice, our japa practice, that's why we call them practices. Nobody has to practice watching cartoons or going for ice cream or pizza, right? It just kind of happens automatically, right? Nobody has to practice playing, right? Do you practice playing? No, you just play, right? So we practice our spiritual practice because it is a practice. It requires a discipline. It requires a practice. When the alarm goes off early in the morning to get up and meditate, the mind says, right? Just hit the snooze button, go back to sleep. Why bother? It's a discipline. It's a discipline. Day after day it gets easier, but it's a discipline. When you sit down to meditate, mind always can think of things. Always. We've all got lists of things we've got to get done. Wake up in the morning and realize things you've got to get done. You probably don't have too much you've got to get done. Lucky for you. But the rest of us, we wake up in the morning, there's so much we have to get done. We say, Cello, I'm going to sit and meditate. And the mind says, but my God, you've got all these things, you have to get them done. And then you start meditating. And you don't instantaneously have enlightenment or ecstasy. And the mind says, "Ugh, see, useless. Might as well finish off my to-do list." Right? Very normal. That's why it's a sadhana. That's why it's a discipline. Because no matter what the mind says, we keep sitting. We keep sitting. We never say to our mind, "Oh, there's a list of things to do? Okay, I guess I won't meditate today." Because there's always a list of things to do. So we keep meditating. And when we're going to do japa, it's the same thing. So when you are going to do japa and your mind says, "Maybe I'd rather play," right? Is that what your mind says? Always. I understand. So how much time, here we can turn this on, then people can hear you. How much time in the day do you have for playing?
Every time?
All time. Your whole life is playing. Well, that's pretty great. And how much time do you do japa?
Mostly once in a week.
Once in a week. And when you do it once in a week, how many malas do you do?
Sometimes 1, sometimes 5, sometimes 4, sometimes 3.
Okay. So how long does your japa take you usually? Like to do one mala, how long does that take?
10 minutes.
Okay. So if you do one mala, it's 10 minutes. If you do 5 malas, that's 50 minutes.
No, maybe not 15 minutes. It will take 30 minutes.
Okay. You speed up as you go along. So now you tell me, during your day, how many minutes is God with you? How much is God with you during your day?
I don't know.
I'm not asking how much you know God is with you. You may forget, but how much is God with you? Does God come and go? Show up on Thursdays?
No.
No. So how much is God with you?
No. Mostly
9 to 5?
It could be 1 in every 2 days because I usually am focused in playing.
Right, so your mind is not with God. But is God with you even if your mind is not there?
Well, even I like to play, so
No, I know you like to play. I love that you like to play. But here's the question. When you are playing, is God with you?
sometimes maybe.
I'm going to tell you something that might surprise you. You ready to be surprised? God is with you all the time.
Even when I'm playing and focused on playing?
Even when you're playing and focused on playing. Even when you're sleeping. God is always with you. What do you think about that?
Okay.
Sound good? So if God is always, always with you, even when you play, even when you sleep, even when you're focused on something else, then do you think it's too much to think about God maybe 10 minutes in a week?
No.
That's not too much, is it?
Well, no.
You've still got plenty of time to play, right?
If you talk about God, then no.
Then no, yes, we're talking about God. So you still have plenty of time to play, right? Great. So what do you think? Do you think you could think about God maybe 10 minutes a day?
I could.
Could you do that? So then maybe we could do 1 mala a day. What do you think?
Yes.
Not too much of a burden?
No.
You'll still have enough time to play?
Yep.
Great. So from now on, we are going to do 1 mala a day. But some days we can still do 5 malas.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Okay? And so when you sit down to do your japa and the mind says, oh, but I want to play, that's when you tell your mind, but it's only fair because God is with me all the time. And so at least 10 minutes a day, I have to think about him. Right?
Yes.
I mean, your mom and dad are with you all day long.
Yes.
And if you never look at them, never talk to them, how do you think they will feel?
Bad.
Right. So how do you think God feels?
Bad.
Well, the good news is I don't think God feels bad. I think God loves you whatever you do. But I think it would make God very happy for you to talk to him every day.
Yes.
I feel very happy when you talk to me. So we'll do japa every day,
Yes.
and then we'll play.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes.
Promise?
Promise.
Pinky promise?
Pinky promise.
Good. Thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful. Of course. Anybody else want to join her? Japa every day? Every day? If she can do it, how old are you? 7. Okay. If at 7 she can do it, I think the rest of us can do it. Raise your hand, everyone. Japa, once a day at least. Look at that. You've inspired everybody. Now everybody's going to do japa every day. Beautiful. Now when you go home, you can remember I have inspired everybody to do japa. Does anyone else have a question? Yes. We'll take this as our last question tonight.
Thank you.
Sure.
So, a couple of days ago, I was here and I asked you the question of jealousy.
Yes.
And I love your answer. Thank you very much. Yet, I would love to ask specifically of jealousy that is occurring in the relationship. If you can devote a few words.
Sure. Jealousy in the relationship. Now, when you say that, you mean jealousy that the person you're in a relationship with is being with others? That type of jealousy?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, this is something very, very, very common. I don't know anyone who's ever been in a relationship where there isn't at some time in the relationship, some jealousy of you're at a party, you're somewhere, and your beloved is talking to someone else, spending time with that person. You look at that person, you think, oh, they're so much more attractive than I am. They're funnier than I am. They're richer than I am. All of those things. Or our beloved starts spending time with someone that he or she says is just a friend or just a colleague. But slowly, we feel jealous. Now, the first piece, of course, is to make sure that there isn't actual betrayal going on. Because it's also very easy for us to blame ourselves and to say, I shouldn't be jealous, I shouldn't be jealous, I shouldn't be jealous. Well, if the person is actually cheating on you, the problem isn't with you. The problem is with them. And that's something that it would be good to have some clarity on and just make sure that whatever is going on isn't actually a situation where you're being cheated on and betrayed. If you are, you can then make whatever decision you are free to make about the relationship. But it's important to at least have the truth, to have the facts, to know what you're dealing with. if there is no betrayal, if there is no cheating, if your beloved loves you, and this other person is just a friend or a colleague or someone they were talking to at a party, then we have to start asking ourselves, especially if it happens over and over again, why do I feel so unworthy of having this person and this happiness in my life? Because jealousy says, I'm going to lose this person. Someone or everyone is better than I am, and it's just a matter of time before he or she finds that person and chooses him or her over me. And so inside of us there's a part then that is basically telling ourselves, you don't deserve this beloved, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, or more generally, you don't actually deserve happiness. It's just a matter of time before she leaves you. It's just a matter of time before he dumps you. Because you don't actually deserve happiness. And that's something very, very deep to look at. Why do you feel so insecure in yourself that you're unable to know this person loves you? That you're unable to be confident in the lasting nature of that person's love, of their loyalty, of your happiness together. And that's some very deep work, but it's really important and powerful work. Because otherwise we go from one relationship to another being jealous. And of course, the behavior of the jealous person ends up in many cases being a self-fulfilling prophecy. We become so annoying and so agitated and so jealous that we actually push someone who wasn't cheating, wasn't betraying us, who loved us, but we actually push them away because of our jealousy. And so it creates that self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you find that you're jealous, the first thing to do, fact check. Because who knows, it actually could be kind of an inner sign that says there is something wrong. Something is amiss here. Fact check, find out. But when you are assured that there is nothing amiss, then dive really deeply. And make sure that you tell yourself, I have been created not just by the Creator, but of the Creator. I am worthy. I'm worthy of occupying my space on planet Earth, and the way you know that is you are still here. If you were not worthy of occupying your place on planet Earth, you wouldn't be here. You're still here. You're worthy. And beyond that, you're divine. This is why we chant Aham Brahmasmi. So hum. These very kind of mool mantras that remind us, I am one with the divine. I am the divine. And then you understand, yeah, I may not be the most beautiful person in the room or the richest or the most successful. But that's okay. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter at all. I don't even notice. Because I'm so aware of my worthiness, of my fullness, of my completeness, not because of what I do, not because of what I look like, not because of what I achieve, but simply because I am. Just because I am. Therefore I am that. So hum. Aham Brahmasmi, I am the divine. So it would be very good for you to start working with one or both of those mantras. Either Aham Brahmasmi or Soham. To just remind yourself over and over again, I am divine. I am divine. I am that. And you'll find that it'll cure you of all thoughts of being less than, which is actually what leads to jealousy, because jealousy says, I am less than. If we're jealous in a relationship, it says, I'm less than the person you're going to leave me for. Whatever we're jealous of, it's always that saying of, I am less than. Therefore, I need this, I want that. The moment you realize you are not less than anyone or anything, then jealousy disappears. Okay?
Thank you.
Of course. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your night, everyone. Beautiful evening. A beautiful morning and day to our beloved family all over the world. And look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. So much love.